Have you ever thought about living to be over 100 years old? Hello, my name is Brian, and today I will be talking about blue zones. What is a blue zone and where you can find these locations in the world? After today, you will have the knowledge needed to take the steps to living a longer, healthier life. I've always been interested in doing what I can do to help myself live as long as possible. And after watching an episode of Down to Earth with Zac Efron on Netflix a few years ago about blue zones, I have been really fascinated with this topic. So, even if you're not going to move to one of these blue zones, I will give you some science behind what you can do to help yourself and your family live as long as possible while being very active at the same time. I also suggest a book from author Dan Buettner. Dan is a National Geographic and New York Times best-selling author. He's an explorer, educator, producer, storyteller, and public speaker. He co-produced an Emmy Award-winning documentary and holds 3 Guinness records for endurance cycling. For lots more, check out any of Dan's books, his TED Talk called How to Live to Be 100 Plus, or BlueZones.com. Now let's get started. First off, let's talk about what is a blue zone. A blue zone is a non-scientific term given to geographic regions that are home to some of the world's oldest living people. It was first used by Dan Buettner, who was studying areas of the world in which people lived exceptionally long lives. They are called blue zones because when Buettner and his colleagues were searching for these areas, they drew blue circles around them on a map. In his book called The Blue Zones, Buettner described 5 known blue zones. Greece, where people eat a Mediterranean diet rich in olive oil, red wine, and homegrown vegetables. Sardinia, Italy. It's home to some of the oldest men in the world. They live in mountainous regions where they typically work on farms and drink lots of red wine. Okinawa, Japan. It's home to the world's oldest women who eat a lot of soy-based foods and practice Tai Chi. Costa Rica, where their diet is based around beans and corn tortillas. These people of this area regularly perform physical jobs into very old age. The Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, California, are a very religious group of people that have a strict vegetarian diet and live in tight-knit communities. Although these are the only areas discussed in Buettner's book, there may be unidentified areas in the world that could also be blue zones. So now that we know what a blue zone is and where some of these zones are located, let's take a closer look at some of the diet and lifestyle choices that are most common in all of these areas. You would want to see that 95% of your food comes from a plant or plant-based product. So limit animal protein in your diet to no more than 1 small serving per day. While people in 4 of the 5 blue zones consume meat, they do so sparingly, using it as a special occasion food, a small side, or a way to flavor dishes. Research suggests that a 30-year-old vegetarian will likely outlive their meat-eating counterparts by as many as 8 years. And at the same time, increasing the amount of plant-based foods in your meals has many benefits. In the blue zones, people eat an impressive variety of garden vegetables when they are in season. And then they pickle or dry the surplus to enjoy during off-season. The best of the best longevity foods in the blue zone diets are leafy greens such as spinach, kale, chard, and in Greece, more than 75 varieties of edible greens grow like weeds. Many contain 10 times the polyphenols found in red wine. Now, as far as exercise in these areas, people in the blue zones don't rely on gyms, weightlifting, or fast runs. Instead, they move their bodies as our ancestors did, in the garden, at home, or on casual walks, with as little technological advancements as possible. Okay, so let's recap what you've learned about blue zones today. So I went over the 5 confirmed blue zones in Greece, Italy, Japan, Costa Rica, and California. Some of the diets used in these locations, which is primarily greens and less meat, exercise consists of gardening and long walks with concentrations on lowering stress. You do not need to live in one of these locations in order to live a long life. If you are someone that can handle 95% of your food being from plants, along with a good amount of non-stressful exercise each week, you too can live a very long, healthy life. Thank you.